Welcome everybody once again to A.D.I.O X3. This is day 3 of 9 where we are peeling back the layers, the very complex layers of above, down, inside, out. Today we really want to try to simplify. When I covered day 2 yesterday, we covered a lot of ground. We covered 3 points on the Tic Tac A.D.I.O board. I just kept rolling with it because I really felt that it was important to establish our foundation. Now here on the bottom left, you notice that it's the brain and spinal cord. That's a fixed thing. That does not change. The cells that you have in your brain and spinal cord, they remain with you the rest of your life. There is a variable situation, however, with the subluxation and the adjustment, and the key is to keep our spine, our bodies, in the flipped on or the maximally corrected position, which we said was functional integration. Kind of a long word, but we said yesterday that if you can understand how a light switch can turn on 1, 2, 3, or 4 lights, then you can understand functional integration. It all depends on how the designer set it up in the first place. Now, there's more to this than just nerve supply and nerve transmissions. There's also the hormones, the chemicals, and these are described by way of something called neuropeptides. And so Candace Pert was the late great Candace Pert. She discovered the dopamine receptor in the brain, and the dopamine's job basically is to make you feel good, to make you feel reward, to reinforce, so you can be a constructive human being. Now, some people genetically have a situation where that cascade is not set in place, unfortunately, and those individuals may have certain challenges. But just remember that genetics are not curses. They're predispositions, but they are not curses. And she described the limbic system, that part of your body, your central nerve system, that is in charge of memory processing and feelings and memories and the stress response. She said that the limbic system should actually be extended beyond the brain to include the spinal cord, because most of the neuropeptide receptors for those things, our memory, our stress response, and emotions, are actually coming by way of the spinal cord itself and not even in the brain. So she said that how we feel determines what we give priority to, determines what we think about. Now, when I show this equation, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want you to feel that it's very simple and that there's beauty in it, right? So watch this short video. I've condensed it into, I think, 1 minute and 20 seconds, and then we'll finish off day 3.
This simple equation makes a very interesting shape when you graph it in the complex plane, and this is called the Mandelbrot set. But people have analyzed this shape and have found some very scary things about it. What's amazing about the Mandelbrot set is that you can zoom in infinitely and you'll keep finding new things. Over here, you can keep finding more and more copies of the Mandelbrot set no matter how far you zoom in. You could even zoom in really close to something like this, and it takes a while, but look, there's another little baby Mandelbrot set. Alternatively, you could go into this region and find completely different things. On the left side of this thing, you'll find these weird elephant-shaped things that have spirals that go on forever, and you could even zoom into the side of one of the spirals and find new spirals that repeat infinitely and keep generating new infinite patterns like this. Or you could go on the other side of the elephants and find these weird seahorse-shaped things that have different kinds of spirals that are connected to each other, and once again, they keep going on forever. You can zoom in infinitely, and you'll keep finding new patterns, but like I said, it's a different type of pattern. Seriously, anytime you explore the Mandelbrot set, you can find brand new things, possibly things that no human has ever seen before, because like I said, there is infinite complexity and infinite information in this one shape.
All based on that simple math right there. So when we switch over to our Tic Tac A.D.I.O board, what does this represent from left to right? Well, it says fixed or unchanging, variable or changing, and the result. You could also rephrase it to say there's the principle, there's natural law, there's the way things are just designed to work, and then there's a dilemma, And depending on how we align ourselves, how we comply with the principle, is really what's going to determine the result or the impact. Now, I want you to think of this. We're talking about the power that sustains everything and the power that creates as it relates to healthy, functioning bodies. But I want you to consider this little field here. Let's say that you and I are going to walk ahead 100 feet into that forest, and then we're going to turn right after about 20 steps, and then we're going to turn left at the bigger tree. So we can form a path in our minds. However, you wouldn't see the path, you wouldn't see the pathway, you would not see the trail until people walked through that thing about 500 times or so. The path was there, the intention, the blueprint, the design was there to begin with. It just wasn't reinforced. How does this have to do with the expression of love, the meaning of life, a human being, the purpose of chiropractic? There's key areas in the brain that work better as a result of our adjustment, as implied by the immediate postural changes, especially in the pelvis when we adjust the upper neck. And necessarily, due to functional integration, we understand that other key areas of the brain are necessarily turned on as well, because nerve cells that fire together are wired together. Now, in a baby, okay, bear with me now, for a baby doesn't have any wrinkles on his or her brain when they're born, and they don't have these anatomical parts formed. You cannot distinguish where they are. The part of the brain that is in charge of posture and mobility, sleep and energy, handling stress and thinking clearly. The tracks, the railroad tracks, hadn't been laid out yet. But again, nerve cells that fire together wire together. Why is this important? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we've now used the exact same diagram, which when I designed this in the first place, that little USB thing, that is fractally geometrically correct. So everything that you watched in that video, how one part can snap into the next, unintentionally, this actually all works together, and it perfectly represents the physical shell. It represents the mind and the emotions, the mental health, and the social well-being. I believe we have two minds, two brains. We have a conscious and subconscious, and there you have the spinal cord looking like a guy with his arms and legs there. But again, the spinal cord includes the mind, and our emotions are more regulated through the spinal cord than even the brain itself. And so now we have a beautiful model linking the Newtonian, the physical, the touchable, the measurable, to the invisible, to the unseen. We now have a dynamic, we've crossed the chasm from the Newtonian into the quantum. And we're going to see how this pattern works in the upper layers as we go along. So thanks for being with me. One-of-a-kind information that we're talking about here, and I'm excited to share more with you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.